live. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Greg. It's a pleasure. It's been a while coming, but we finally made it and we're here.
We finally got there. Um, can we just start? Can you tell us a bit about your background? Maybe like was sport part of your life growing up, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, cool. So just to kind of give everyone some context, I was born with my right leg missing from the hip. So I was born with a disability, and essentially that didn't involve sport much in my life growing up. I did play sports in school, like tried my best to kind of integrate myself and do PE, and like I actually enjoyed PE quite a lot, but just due to my physical limitations, I couldn't really do that much at any real kind of adequate level. And with England being a big football country, everyone wants to play football, everyone wants to be a scorer. Like that wasn't really my forte, so I kind of felt a bit like marginalized in that aspect. But I found basketball as a kid, like enjoyed that a little bit more. There wasn't so much kind of foot lower body technicality you need. Obviously, you need to run, but the main aim of the game isn't controlled by your feet and agility and ball control. So yeah, I played basketball a little bit, but again, just not being able to keep up with the pace of the game. Didn't really pursue that or any kind of sport really. Also, like as a disabled kid, there wasn't really any other people of stature like in the media, and I didn't see anyone else like me doing sports and doing cool stuff. So yeah, it wasn't really a thing of mine, and I've spent most of my teens, kind of early mid-20s, not really engaging in any sport, any kind of fitness. I was wearing a prosthetic leg at the time to kind of fit in and look normal, quote unquote normal. But yeah, kind of fitness, sport, training, it wasn't on my agenda or my radar at all. And it's only when I discovered wheelchair basketball in 2007 where everything kind of changed for me. So I found a sport that 99% of the people, they did have a disability, but there's also people that don't. Like that's the great thing about wheelchair basketball in the UK. People of all abilities can play, and you get like a classification point based on your level of ability, whether you're disabled or not. So yeah, that kind of introduced me into a whole new community of people kind of like me. And it also got me training like 2-3 times a week, which I hadn't done before. And that's essentially what put me on the path. I then got drafted into the Great Britain men's squad, the senior squad after the Beijing Paralympics, with the aim of breaking in for London and Rio. Unfortunately, that didn't happen just because our team was pretty solid at the time. And just given where I was in terms of my experience levels and etc., like I didn't quite break in, but it's what put me on this path. I learned a lot about discipline and training and applying myself and mental resilience and fortitude, and I kind of give all of that, I give credit to basketball. To it put me on a path where I didn't really have much else going on. And I then went on to Germany after the London cycle, went to Germany in 2012, and I was living a semi-professional life there. Just like every day was like 2-3 hours of like solid high level training, and on the weekends we had a high level match pretty much every Saturday or Sunday. So just in doing that, I saw my fitness improve, my body composition improved. For the first time in my life, I saw my abs and I was like, what's this? This fitness stuff works. So after doing that for 3 years, came back from Germany, and I just sacked off my office job and thought, yeah, I've got to continue on doing this fitness stuff because it's benefited me in so many ways, mentally, physically. And I wanted to kind of help others and work with others to help them achieve similar things. So did my personal training qualification, my diploma. And then from then, since 2015, I've just been throwing myself at fitness challenges and challenging my own limiting beliefs that I've had since I was a kid, and ultimately getting stronger because of it, physically and mentally. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of my background and introduction into sports and fitness. But it wasn't ever something that I kind of grew up doing, team sports, all of that stuff. It wasn't part of my makeup. But now in the last kind of 7-8 years, I've been kind of growing it and immersing myself in that kind of field. So
it's sort of with the basketball, like you saying, like how it taught you so much and put you on that path. It's something like I was talking about Brent Fikowski in the recent podcast where, you know, just how like growing up, there's that social aspect, but then there's the discipline and there's the competing and learning to do so much that carries over into all aspects of life and stays with you going forward. And, you know, it's great that you're able to discover that. And then it just leads to other things, you know.
Other things, yeah. Like that whole thing about, you know, like I say, the social aspect, the camaraderie. There's so many life lessons you learn in and within sport. And like my parents didn't really push sport. Again, probably just due to them wanting the best for me, you know, go to school, study, you know, get good education, get a good job. And plus with the disabilities, like, you know, sport's not really going to do much for you. So, you know, let's not really focus on that. But now what I've experienced in the last, you know, 7-8 years of being in the fitness industry, now I've got my 2 daughters who are 7 and 6, and I'm not forcing sport and activity on them, but I'm showing them the importance of sport. And I want them to do team sports growing up. Like they're both doing gymnastics at the minute, but I want them to try as many different sports and other things as well. They might play instruments, they might sing, drama, whatever it is, but I want them to do and take part in team sports so they get those life lessons early on that I didn't get.
Yeah.
And if they choose to do it going forwards, then cool. If not, cool. But at least they know the importance of physical health and, you know, eating well and activity from a young age.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they carry that on into their later years. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And that's why it's so good, like that you've got such a social following and you're out there doing it, because other people in a similar situation, like they're like, oh, you know, it can be done. They're not like ruling themselves out of sport because of their disability. Like you're showing them that it is possible, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't have that person growing up, or even into my kind of late 20s, early 30s. You know, social media is great for that. That's one good thing about socials and the internet is you can find things like really easily. People like-minded, people in similar situations, people similar interests, you can find them at, you know, the click of a button now. Whereas before, like, I was the only disabled person in the village growing up. Not that I grew up in a village, but you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I didn't know anyone else. I didn't see anybody like me. And now I'm doing, you know, like I'm doing HYROX. I'm doing functional fitness comps. I'm doing CrossFit Opens here and there. I'm throwing myself at so many different things, and it's essentially to prove things to myself, but equally I might inspire someone out there who thinks, you know, life's come to a standstill, I can't do anything because I've maybe lost a leg. Or even if they haven't lost a leg, there are people who have all their limbs and they're physically fit and capable who are coming up with reasons why they can't do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, this guy's got one leg, he's climbed up a mountain on crutches, or he's done a HYROX, he's done this. And it's like, okay, if he can, it's not saying kind of I'm doing it, what's your excuse? I've never really had that kind of mantra or mindset. But it's like, you know, if I'm capable of trying it, then, you know, at least you could give it a try or try something else. Maybe not do a HYROX, or maybe not jump out of a plane, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these things that we put in terms of like limitations on ourselves. And a lot of the time it's just ourselves that's placed that limitation. No one's really told us these things. It's just, I think that I can't. It's probably just you can't right now, or you don't have the belief you can. It's one of those things. You can definitely, you know, change that mindset and try at least. And if you fail, then at least you tried, learn your lessons and move on. But just saying I can't do it just as a absolute, that's definitely a mental block. That's a mindset thing.
Yeah. So you don't wear a prosthetic leg anymore, do you?
No, not anymore. No, just
is there a reason for that?
It is, so the way my anatomy is, like, because I was born with just the one leg, it wasn't like a amputation. So I don't actually have a portion of my right leg. So when you think about amputees, you think about they're either above knee or below knee. Those are the two kind of groups of amputee and limb loss. And if you're below the knee, then you've got a functioning knee and a functioning hip. So you kind of just slot whatever residual limb you've got into the socket. It suctions on, off you go. If you're above knee, then you've got your functioning hip, but you're kind of in the slightly lesser end of functionality. But so you still got functioning hip, functioning glute. But for me, I don't have either joint. So my leg used to go around my waist, and I'd sit in like a little bucket, the bucket seat kind of thing. And then I'd have a shoulder strap that would attach around me to keep the leg attached to me. So the whole thing was just quite uncomfortable, quite cumbersome. You know, I'd get quite hot quite easily because I'm just like lugging around this big contraption to keep me looking, again, quote unquote, normal. And then I think got to my kind of mid-20s and had a bit of a epiphany, like talking to some loved ones, and they're like, you know, why do you wear the leg if it causes you so much pain all the time? And it's just like, yeah, like why do I do this? But it was essentially for vanity and just not to stand out. But then as you get older, you kind of get more comfortable in yourself and who you are. And I was like, you know what? Let me just wear it a bit less and see how I get on. And it was a bit of a challenge at first, like going from essentially being invisible and blending in and looking like everyone else to suddenly this glaringly obvious thing of, you know, not having a leg. And it was interesting actually, because everyone just started treating me really differently in a positive way. So I'm like, I'll be walking down the street or coming towards a door. And whereas before people wouldn't give a shit, now people are like opening the door. They're like, "Oh, come on!" I was like, "This is all right. I could get used to it." But it was. I mean, my friends and family all treated me the same. It was just being now openly different as opposed to just blending in. But the toss up was I was constantly comfortable. Like I didn't have to deal with the discomfort of walking and all of this kind of stuff. So it evened out, and then eventually I just didn't even notice. Like I don't even really notice if people look and stare anymore. But you get the odd kid who's like sees me and their eyes just wide, their jaw hits the floor. Like, "Mommy, Daddy, where's his leg gone?" And that's fine for me. That's this kid's just saying what they see. It's coming from a place of innocence, and I actually enjoy kind of explaining to them and talking to them and telling them about my story or what happened, because it just normalizes it.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is down to the parents and how they respond to that question, whether they say, "Oh, well, let's go and ask him," which is great, or they're like just yanking the kid by the arm and like, "Shut up, be quiet, don't look." And that's not really the right response, I feel.
Yeah.
That's down to them. But the leg stays in the loft. I might bring it down once in a while just for a laugh or to record some content or something. But I don't need it for my actual like mobility and to get around. Or my training for that matter. So
cool. This might be a naive question. Do you like struggle with injuries more than more than you otherwise might? Are there imbalances or anything like that? Or
so I've always had an ongoing kind of issue with my lower back. So I've got slight scoliosis of the lumbar spine, so my kind of lower spine's a little bit curved, which I didn't actually know until like 2010 when I found some doctor's notes, and I was like, "Oh shit, I've got scoliosis of the spine." I probably should have guessed, given that I'm missing a leg and my hips are gonna like naturally adjust. But over the years, like I kind of get this same tightness in my lower right back just because those muscles are probably working pretty hard to keep my pelvis aligned to some degree. And usually I'll train and I'll be fine, and then there might be a time where suddenly just it locks up, or if I've done some deadlifts or something, then a couple of days I might get a bit of tightness. But I've just come back from a CrossFit event in Barcelona, and we had to do some sandbag cleans, like 45 kilos. It's pretty tough. And on the third round of my fifth, like 3 rounds of 5, my back just pinged. And that was about a month ago, and I'm still like, I went to see physio. I've gone to physio because it's been about 3 weeks of it still paining and hurting. So that's usually my issue when it comes to training. If it's quite heavy and there's a lot of like hinge work and deadlifts and cleans, I might get a bit of a niggle in the lower back a few days after. But other than that, my knee's fine. Ankle, I actually injured it back in lockdown, but it wasn't like training related. It was just me just being silly and trying to learn how to do backflips on the trampoline. And I landed one wrong and just tore ligaments in my ankle. So that was fun. everyone's like, "You've got one leg, mate. What the hell are you doing? Why are you doing all this mad
Look
stuff?"
after it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not a knife question at all. But it's interesting, since started training, I've actually obviously putting myself through more kind of physical stress and load, but equally I'm getting stronger as a result of it.
Yeah.
Using the prosthetic, obviously you kind of balance your weight on both limbs, but since not wearing it, everything then goes through, one hip, one glute, one knee. But since I've been training, obviously I'm strengthening those structures, but there's always some give and take. Like there's always something that takes a bit more wear and tear. Now I don't wear the leg, I'm using crutches all the time. So now my shoulders are getting a lot more load through them, and my wrists. So there's a bit more wear and tear on that front. And then playing wheelchair basketball is a lot of upper body. So yeah, I'm probably just like fatigued. I'm just knackering myself out at a fast rate here, but it is what it is. I'd rather feel like pains and aches from training rather than feeling pains and aches from non-activity and just being sedentary and stiff. Like I'd rather take the former.
Yeah, 100%. So you've done a lot, like you touched on that. You've done a lot like NFG, the CrossFit competition recently, HYROX, Ninja Warrior as well, I think, right?
Yeah. Didn't mention that one. Yeah, I did Ninja Warrior. That was 2019. Went up to Manchester for that. And it was weird how that all kind of happened, because I was working at the gym at the time and I was kind of big into calisthenics, and I liked kind of not really like parkour, but just physical, like body weight movements and free running type things, and mix that in with calisthenics, gymnastic stuff. It looks pretty cool. And someone said, "Oh, you should go on Ninja Warrior," and I was like, yeah, that would be fun. Didn't really think nothing of it, and then literally an email appears in my inbox about 3 days later. And it wasn't like a direct email to me like, "Hi Tyler, we'd love for you to come." It's one of those like broad casting type emails. And I was like, imagine that. Well, let's just fill it out anyway, just for bands, and just see what happens. And I actually got through, went to a box in somewhere in like London Bridge to do like the testing for it. So you do a few physical tests like balance and vertical jump and like hanging grip strength on various like implements, like balls and the little poles and stuff like that. And we had like a pull-up test and like swinging off of a bar and seeing how far we could land, and a repeat effort sprint test. So yeah, I managed to get through all of those, and then got the call up to say, "Yeah, we'd love you to have you on," and went up to Manchester and yeah, done the course. It was probably at that time was the scariest thing that I've ever done. Because you don't know what you're gonna get on the day. You just rock up there and then they unveil what your course is going to be. And the worst thing is, or the funniest thing was, I knew that I wasn't actually going to complete the course because you've got the wall at the end, which I've done at like trampoline parks, but it's a lot shorter, so you can kind of get up there easily. But I know the regulation wall, there was no physical way that I could actually get up. And I don't like to say things are impossible for me, but that was pretty impossible to do. So I've gone all the way up there to do this course knowing that I'm not going to finish it. But I was like, you know what, let's just give it a go anyway. But I'm here, so I might as well do it. And yeah, I mean, it was quite a nerve-wracking day. You're sat in this green room with all the other contestants and you're watching on the big screen, seeing everyone do their run. So everyone's sitting there like, "Oh, you see how he did that? And then this person did this wrong. And okay, don't do that, do this instead." And then when it came to my turn, like, wanted to physically be sick backstage when I was waiting to go up there, but you just heard them say, "Oh, Tyler Saunders," and just crowds just cheering. I'm like, well, we're here now, so let's just get it done. And yeah, I got a little bit further than a few people on our heat, but yeah, I fell in on like the third one because it was another very challenging balance related kind of obstacle. And they actually said, "Do you want to come back tomorrow? Because it will be something different." And well, I've come all the way up here today, and then I'm going to go back home to London and then come back to Manchester tomorrow. I'm like, no, let's just do whatever it is now and let's just get it done. And it was just a chat again, just to challenge myself and see what I was able to do. And yeah, got it done. It was a good kind of testament to me and what I'm able to make myself do. But afterwards, all of the support and the amount of people who'd kind of reached out and sending congratulations and support. It was pretty crazy. Like, it was almost like overwhelming to a degree. Like, I didn't know it would have done what it did, and they still repeat it now on whatever channel, ITV2. And then I get a new wave of people, I've just seen you on TV. Like, it was in 2019, it's a replay. But no, that was definitely one of my kind of triumphant moments from a resilience mindset standpoint, because I'll always refer back to that and like other things I've done as, you know, that was a very scary point in my life, or like I was extremely nervous at that point, but I did it. So then when I'm faced with something new that's, you know, nerving or unsettles me a bit, I always refer back to things like Ninja Warrior or the skydive that I've done, or doing like the SAS fan dance. Like it's like comparison frames. I think David Goggins calls it the something jar. I forgot the name of it, but you just put all of these things that you've done that are really hard into like a memory bank. And then when you're faced with a new challenge, you're like, oh, I've done this. Like, this should be easy. And it's kind of how I view, not saying HYROX is easy by any means. Like, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But for me, like, HYROX compared to doing like an endurance event I've done, like the SAS fan dance, where I was trekking up and down the Brecon Beacons for like 5 hours non-stop, compared to doing like 90 minutes of hard graft. I'm like, yeah, HYROX is fun. I'll enjoy that all day long. But somebody might see HYROX and think that is just the worst thing I can imagine. It might be for the first time you do it, but then afterwards you're like, actually, that was pretty fun. Let's sign up for the next one and go again.
Yeah. A few people
do hard things to understand what your levels are and what you're actually capable of doing. Whereas if everything just looks hard and you say, oh, I can't do that, you'll never know what you're actually capable of doing.
Yeah. A few people have mentioned that on here, actually, just like where their mind goes when the race is getting really tough, and they just like you just said, like they think about something else more disgusting that they've done, and it just like sets that bar, doesn't it, going forward? In fact, there's like one reason for doing it. It's one reason for doing something so hard, to like show yourself what you're capable of, so that then other things seem like relatively easy. Even my worst HYROX race, like we paced it terribly. Like, I was ill afterwards. Like, I felt horrendous afterwards. But I kind of like, I looked at like the race after that felt relatively easy, just because I didn't feel so terrible. So see, you know, in hindsight, it was a good thing. We talked about HYROX. How did you come to discover that? Like, how many races have you done? Tell us a bit about that experience.
Yeah, so my journey into HYROX started, I think it's 2021. I think I was seeing HYROX crop up on like Instagram, like kind of paid ads, and I just see this picture of this like big grid and just these lines, and people are just pushing and pulling things. I was like, yeah, that looks mad. Just scroll, just kept scrolling past it. And then I think I got an opportunity to go to a tour, a PFT tour at a box in Twickenham. Hold on. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it was like a kind of rugby club in southwest London. And someone just invited me to it, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll go along and just see what it is, because it's like a mini version of the main event. And then I've got there and seen what the actual workout is, thinking we're going to do that. And I'm like, no, I'm tapped out. I can't. How am I going to do 1K on grass, on crutches? Like, it's not going to happen. But they're like, no, this is the real workout. We're just doing this, you know, condensed like diet version of the workout. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's fine. So did that, you know, obviously sweated, lots of burpees, lots of rowing, all the rest of it. And then I thought, you know, that's it. I've enjoyed it. Cheers, guys. See you later. I'm off. And then the main event, I think the first one in Birmingham, one of the sponsors I was with at the time, they were an affiliate or a partner of HYROX in the early days. And they're like, you know, would you like to go? Like, we've got spaces available. Do you want to go? And then that mindset thing kicked in of, let's just give it a go. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, the running part, I'll just get my basketball chair, I'll do it in that. And all the kind of functional workouts in between, yeah, I can row, I can ski, I can burpee. wall balls I wasn't too like fluid with, but we'll get those done as well. I said, you know what, just rock up and just do what you can to the best of your ability and just see what happens. And yeah, went and did it. It had a good time, didn't have any expectations on myself, just wanted to get through it and see how it felt generally. And yeah, it was good. Like the crowds, the support, people staying to cheer on. And obviously back then the numbers were way lower than it was now, but it even felt busy then. It was crazy. Like it felt like a full venue up at the NEC then. And yeah, just got through it, had a good time, kind of mingled, saw some faces, caught up with people and stuff. And yeah, it was all good. And then from then on, just ended up doing another one, did another one. So I think I've done 5 in total, 4 solos and 1 pairs. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just keep signing up for the next one. They're just getting bigger and bigger though. It's mental how much it's grown in the last, couple of years.
Yeah.
But for me I probably will go as far as to say I was the first kind of person with a disability to do it, or one of the first adaptive athletes to do it. I might be wrong. Someone might have done it before me. I know somebody did in Germany before, in one of the early ones in Leipzig, I think. But from the UK standpoint, I was one of the first ones. And it was just a case of I might have to scale some of the weights. I might have to adapt 1 or 2 movements, which I didn't really have to do in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, it was just a challenge for myself and just to see what I was capable of doing. Enjoyed that challenge, signed up for more. And again, what's awesome is there are other people kind of in the disabled community and the adaptive community that are now putting their hand up and saying, yeah, like I want to give this a try as well. Mm-hmm. And it being, a fitness race for everyone, I think that's definitely something that needs to be, I guess, looked at and accommodated. So
did they have to adapt anything for you, like any of the movements for you? And
yeah. So the sled push and pull, I had to take a plate or 2 off just to actually move the thing. But that the movement standards pretty much stayed the same. The farmer's carry, when I did it in my chair, I put one of the kettlebells in my kind of footwell and then put one on my lap and then just kind of had to like alternate push. So I'd hold it with one hand, push the wheel, change, push the wheel, change. The lunges, actually, that was the first time I discovered how to do my own lunge, like my own version of a lunge. So I put this sandbag on my shoulders, I've got my crutches, and then like I'll take a big step forward, kind of do a little squat and then stand, and then I'll put my crutches in front, drop my knee to the floor, and then stand up. But it's essentially a full body workout. It's not just the lower body workout because I'm actually getting like a dip in as well. And then I'm working the leg on the front foot. And then, yeah, so it ended up being quite knackering, but we got that done as well. Burpee broad jumps, fine. I think that's probably one of my stronger events. And then, yeah, ski, row. What else am I forgetting? Yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, all of them are pretty much the same. But what the discussion is I have with athletes who are interested, like other people who want to give it a go, who might use a wheelchair for their kind of mobility, or some people might have like neuromuscular conditions. They're like, how can I do this, this, and this? And I'm like, that's still to be decided and discussed when the official rule book comes out, because I've gone there and done things based on my abilities and capabilities. But when it comes to other people, we're going to have to see what happens with their individual conditions. And the thing is with disability as well, people in groups might have certain conditions, like as a broad condition, but that condition affects everyone in specific ways, and it's very individual to that person. Yeah. So yeah, we're yet to see whether it's going to be like a broad thing or whether it's going to be individualized, or if movements will be adapted, or if it will just be do what you can and we'll make amendments on the scoreboard. Like, I'm not sure, but the fact the discussions are happening and the kind of provisions are being made, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that is something. So they're working. I've heard talk for a long time now about an adaptive rule book being put together. That's something that they're still working on, as far as you know, is it?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah. I reached out to some contacts, and it's still in the works. So yeah, wondering. I'm curious who they're consulting with on things. So I'm like, hey, I'm here. Like, you guys can ask me. You can ask me some questions. I can help you out here. But no, they're everyone there's a good bunch. It's a great run event. Very smooth, and to the point. Like, it's kind of making other events change how they run their structure in terms of like participants and waves, and you just got like a constant flow of people just coming through the event. And yeah, it's good to see so many people of different, ages, genders, ability levels. It's not just an event of elite. You obviously get the elites who finish like sub 60, and then you've got like Doris, he's like 58, and you've got Pete who's 74, and like they're still doing it, and however long it takes them, it doesn't matter. But everyone in that venue gets behind whoever's doing the race, whoever's on the floor, and it's a pretty awesome feeling.
Did I see that you did 103 in the doubles? Have I written that down right?
You did, sir. Yeah, you did 103.
That's impressive, man. That's impressive.
That took me by surprise. When we looked at the rankings, we were like, I can't remember. It's like top. It was definitely like top 10 in that category. And I was running with a mate of mine, Daniel Bourne, and he's quick off the mark with the run in, and like he's just a unit generally, like great level of fitness. So I was like, I'm keeping up with you on the runs. I'm gonna go for it on the runs. Whereas before, when I'm doing the pushes round, I might just kind of pace it just so I don't gas out. Yeah. That time it's like, nah, man, we're just going for it. It's just going for it. And that almost came round to bite me actually after the first K. And then we jumped on the ski. And I think so many people make this mistake where they just go like full send on the ski. And then when you go back to that second run, you're almost like tapped out. You've almost like spent yourself. And I'm like, shit, I made a big mistake here. I should have got a bit easier on that ski. Because the rest of that second run, my mouth was dry, my lips were dry, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it now. But we did eventually. Like, it was actually good. And that was the fun thing about pairs. I didn't actually do a pair until that point, where it's cool when you've got someone with you doing it, because you got someone to bounce off, you've got someone to kind of motivate you, but you're also halving the workload, so you can essentially go harder because someone's going to jump in and do a little bit as well. Whereas when you're on your own, you got to think about pacing and conserving a little bit and not going like too hard. So yeah, 103, I think that's the closest I'm ever going to get to like 60 like ever, unless we do it again. I think we definitely want to do it again and give it another shot, because like he's definitely competitive, probably more than me, and I know he really wants that, like getting it close to 60. So we'll probably sign up like Manchester and do it there. And actually, no, I don't know, Manchester floor, when I did Manny this year, the flooring isn't as great for me in the chair.
Okay.
Like London or Birmingham. So yeah, it might not be Manny.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm definitely back on that doubles floor. So we want to try and beat that 103.
It's much more intense, isn't it, than the singles version? Yeah.
Much more.
Especially when you start out fast. It's like, I mean, I'm here for a long hour. This is going to feel long. If we talk about like mindset, and I often ask, and we've touched on really where your mind goes when things are getting very tough. Is it that you're relying on those past experiences? Is there anything else that you think about in those moments?
Yeah, a lot of it is past experiences, kind of like highs and lows and like struggles in life. But then sometimes you just kind of zone out and just go into autopilot and just kind of graft and just get it done. But there's times I'm like, you're gonna be fine. Like, it's not gonna last forever. Just push on, just do one more rep, do one more length, just do 5 more and have a quick breather. And it's kind of pushing myself and seeing what I'm able to kind of do in this state of fatigue, like in the pain cave or the hurt locker or whatever it's called. And kind of like I've always said about challenging limiting beliefs growing up, like I'm generally not like by default, by nature, I'm not a competitive person. I'm not a person who seeks discomfort and kind of thrives in under pressure or stress, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, I've always kind of took the easy way out or avoided difficult conversations or conflict or hostility. And I probably still do. Like, I'm pretty chilled out guy, pretty laid back. But when I get into these kind of workouts and these environments where you're on the brink of exhaustion, but you still got X amount to do, it's like, well, what are you made of? Like, how are you going to get through this? Like, what's next? Like, what are you going to pull out of the bag to get to the next stage? And at the time, it always feels horrendous. Like, I don't think anyone ever like enjoys being breathless and, like just being on their face fatigue wise, but it's that feeling of accomplishment afterwards and that feeling of like, reward and self-belief going up and self-esteem and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's probably what I enjoy more. It's like the feeling afterwards than like the actual feeling during.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of tell myself, mate, I've been here before. Like, I'll try and think back to like a really tough workout where I was definitely on the brink of like tapping out. I mean, you didn't quit that. Like, you don't quit these things unless you get injured, and even then, you probably still carry on anyway. You know what we're like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just challenging limiting beliefs, just going against that old mindset of you're not good enough to do these things. You're not strong enough. You don't belong here. That's another one that might creep in here and there. So yeah, it's just a lot of it is kind of just battling with myself and the own inner personal demons and stuff like that. But we just sign up for more and then find out we're back in again and we're just in the same environment again. So like, oh, here we are back in this black hole again.
I did it again.
I've been head first in. Here we go. So yeah, that's kind of just it's a mindset thing for sure. And I think being in the since stepping into the fitness space, I'm building and growing and learning, and it kind of ties into personal development as well in a different kind of way. It's just you going against you finding out what you're actually capable of, and in return you're building self-confidence, self-belief as well. So that's why I'm doing it.
What's the toughest thing you've done? Like, does anything spring to mind?
I'd probably say the SAS, the fan dance that I did last year. So I'm part of a coaching program, like a mindset coaching program. And every quarter we get together and do like an activity. And then we'll have like a mastermind session. But this particular one, it was SAS fan dance. It's that selection process. And they gave us the option of wearing, the Bergen with all the weight in it, and you got to do it within a certain time. So straight away I was like, okay, definitely not doing that. Let's, leave the ego at the door. Let's just carry my backpack with my snacks and my water in it. I don't need to be putting weight plates in there or anything. And I'm just going to do what I can given the time that we've got. And we did climb up Jacob's ladder and did all of that. And from the first kind of like 10, 15 minutes, my arm started to throb, my triceps starting to hurt. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then, 4.5, 5 hours later, just the way I had to like block out pain, and I wasn't even like talking to anyone. I was just kind of had to go into myself because my arms were cramping up, my calf was cramping up, hammies cramping up, like everything's hurting. And we're just going over like hill after hill. And I don't know when the end line, I don't know where the finishing point is. All I know is we're heading to this little car park where all our cars are. So every peak, I'm like, please be the car park. And it's not there. It's another valley. I'm like, Jesus Christ, when is this going to end? And then when we eventually did get to the car park, I then couldn't walk to the car where my car was parked. And a friend of mine, he had his minivan there, which thankfully he was parked in the right place. He's driven us there. And to me, that was like the hardest endurance based thing I've done, just
Yeah.
because it's all arms, it's all leg. I'm carrying a weighted backpack to some degree. And
Hills.
hills, yeah, inclines, terrains, you know, a bit of mud as well, and like all the elements are kind of against you when you're out there. And like one of the positive things during it, which kind of kept me going, was there were actual recruits doing the test, and they're seeing me, you know, going up there in my crutches and doing my best. And you could see like the soul's been taken from them, because it's a tough gig. But then they've seen me, and like, I guess they've felt something, or it's given them some kind of lift. And I saw a couple of them like go from like kind of here to like, they've seen me, nodded me, and then they suddenly picked up their pace. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I'm maybe helping someone along their journey and their selection. And that gave me a little boost. But then, yeah, pretty much 2 minutes later, I'm like, fuck, this is
I need another boost.
Yeah, so that's always something I refer to when it comes to like an endurance type event. And even I'm going to do a HYROX eventually. It was going to be Birmingham, which I can't do now. It's going to be London, which I can't do now because I've got wheelchair basketball fixtures on both days, which is annoying, but I've got my allegiance to my team as well. But I'm going to do a HYROX. My next thing is to do one without the chair. So I'm going to do the whole thing on crutches.
Okay. Wow.
Which goes against that initial mindset of, I can't do 1K on crutches. That's ridiculous. I can't do that. So that's my next mission in terms of like kind of pushing myself, making HYROX a bit harder for myself. But that's where I use the SAS fan dance, where it's not going to take me 5 hours to do. It might take me 2, but it's not going to be 5, and I'm not going to be trudging up and down terrain for 5 hours.
Yeah.
So that's my comparison frame. That was tough then. HYROX in like a nice, you know, nice temperatured indoor, you know, setting with people cheering and tunes. Like, I'll be fine. Like, I'll be able to do it in maybe 2.5. I'm not sure, but it's kind of, yes, again, using those past experiences of things being really tough to then make something that's seeming to be tough actually is not going to be that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely a hard thing. And skydive, that was hard psychologically, not so much physically, but obviously nerves. That was something. But when you actually are doing it, it's one of the best feelings ever. So that probably doesn't quite count because the fan dance was just hard. So it's just straight up hard. Just seeming like it went on forever. Everything's hurting, but you just have to put one foot in front of the other, one step at a time, and then eventually get to the end. And you look back on it fondly, and people are like, "Would you do it again?" I was like, don't know. I might, but not anytime soon.
No rush.
No,
what about your best experience in sport?
Best experience. I think probably winning. It's not related to HYROX actually. It's winning the league with my basketball team. So we were the national champions 2 years running. But when we won it last year, for the first time in the club's history, we won the league and the playoffs as well. So it was like a double. We did a double, and yeah, the club's never done it before. So I got to climb up on the basketball ring and cut the netting off, and like everyone's cheering on the bottom. So yeah, that was like a really. And my family was there, kids saw it as well. So yeah, that's probably one of the highlights in my whole sporting career. Yeah, kind of look back fondly and smile at it. So yeah.
I heard you did the you were involved in the Olympic torch relay as well in 2012. Is that right?
Yeah. Did that.
Was that cool?
Again, yeah, one of the highlights of my sporting career. It was bittersweet because I wasn't part of the Paralympic team.
Yeah.
But equally got to carry the torch through a part of West London near my home. And, you know, family, friends were there. Like, I'll never see my mum and dad smile so much at that point, till that point. So yeah, well, it was a really nice moment. I've still got the torch now. They let us keep it, but we had to pay, I think it's 250 quid. We had to pay for it. Because the first people that did the leg of it, wherever it started, they just got given it, and then they went and sold it on like Gumtree or whatever, and got like some serious dough for it.
Yeah, I bet.
The lawyers are like, no. If you want it now, you got to at least give us a little down payment. So still got it tucked away in this little bag.
Awesome.
But yeah, that was a pretty awesome memory.
Awesome. What work-wise, what are you're not doing PT anymore, are you?
No, PT, and I did that for 7 years. I moved on to, I'm doing fitness coaching at Gymshark now at the Regent Street store. So we do classes, we do one-to-one sessions for the community, and everything's like free of charge for all the community, because it's our opportunity to give back a little bit and help upskill people, give them knowledge and training on nutrition, lifestyle, movement, technique, and correction. And yes, it's a fun place to work. So I'm still doing similar things, but it's just in a different lane.
Mm-hmm.
And from working kind of on the outskirts of London to now being like in London, it's, you know, it's always busy. There's always something going on. There's always excitement there. So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. So one question that I always ask people in this podcast is if you could put a message out to the world on a billboard, could say absolutely anything, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. If you put a message out on the billboards, probably be something like "you can," or "you're more capable than you think." Like something to do with just that inner voice, that kind of that inner limiting belief of, you know, you're not good enough or you're not capable of doing it. Because I've always had that growing up, and probably it still lingers now. Like you can never fully like squash those voices. It'll always be there. But I think something that could maybe like uplift someone and get them to think about like challenging those inner thoughts, because a lot of the time they're not true. It's just your mind, your brain just running off on tangents and kind of pulling experiences in the past that reaffirm that belief and that thought.
Yeah.
See, I think it'd be something like, yes, you can, or you're more capable than you think. Something like that.
Yeah, love it. I think you certainly do that. You show people that with everything that you do. So yeah, it's amazing. Before we finish up, is there anything else I should have asked you? And also, I think you've got your own podcast as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got mine called the Challenge Accepted podcast. Definitely need to do some work to catch up with your numbers, mate, because you are doing all right. You're like 70 episodes, 60 something, 70 episodes.
Yeah, been going over a year now. Yeah,
hey, that is awesome, man. It is fun. Like the conversations I get to have are awesome. It's just the editing part. It's the editing bit afterwards. I'm like, this is the hard part. And I don't do the editing myself, but it's the sending it off to get mastered. It's the show notes. It's the social clips. Yeah, it's like, yeah, this is actually quite a lot.
Relentless. It's relentless. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're juggling like obviously job, parenthood, training, all these other things, mine took a backseat for a while, but I'm trying to get it back up and running now.
Okay.
But yeah, other than that, nothing else, mate. It's been a great chat.
It's been fantastic. So Challenge Accepted podcast. Well, if people want to follow you on Instagram, where's that?
Yeah, Instagram is I am Tyler Saunders. I think same on Facebook, but don't really use Facebook that much, do we? Nah. It's just people complaining on Facebook. Everyone's angry on Facebook. But yeah, that's the socials. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much. Anything else I should have asked you before we finish up?
No, that's fine. When's your next HYROX? What's the next
Birmingham. So yeah, it's just over a week. Or when this comes out, it'll be 2 days time. So yeah.
Are you doing doubles?
Singles, just men's open on for this one, yeah. And then I'm doing doubles in London. So looking forward to it.
Both of them I had in the diary, and then both of our wheelchair. We had one of our first fixtures pushed back to Birmingham, and I was like, okay, but it's a bit. We're only down to 7 players already, and it's like the first game of the season, so I'm like, okay, I can't just suddenly bail on you guys. And then the one in the London one is we're playing like the top team in the division who we beat last year. So that's a big game. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I might be able to do the 26th actually. I might see if I can do like a mixed or something, just squeeze that in. There'll be
because it's a 2-day event, isn't it, London? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2-day, yeah. So I'm gonna chat to some sources and see if I can squeeze in something on the 26th. Because I do want to do it. I haven't done London in a while, so but that's all dependent on the back. I mean, the back needs to get sorted first. Back in the game.
All right, well, perfect. Thank you for this. Really appreciate it. It's been fantastic.
Great to chat to you, right?
Yeah, great to chat to you too. Good luck with the basketball. Good luck with the back. Good luck with HYROX. Good luck with everything.
Cheers,
hopefully catch you soon. All right, take care.
Cool, mate. Thank you.